Okay, so today's tutorial is going to be short and sweet, literally. I'm going to be making some sweet paste, which is a short pastry which, funny enough, is sweet. Here I've doubled my recipe, so there's 400 grams of standard flour, half a teaspoon of salt, 100 grams of icing sugar. Slight change to the method. I've put the icing sugar with the flour rather than with the eggs. Both ways work perfectly fine. My butter, keep it nice and chilled, 250 grams. To me, the most important part about this is not melting the butter. Otherwise you end up with a slimy dough. And double recipe, so 2 eggs to finish off. To start with, all we're going to do, this is the third time I have sieved that flour mixture so that it's mixed very well. Another way to do it is keeping that butter nice and chill. You could grate the butter in, which will make it nice and fine. Okay, then just going to make our well. And just like when we're making the scones and anything else pretty much that's a nice short consistency, we're going to rub the butter into the flour. So just fingertip work, breaking it up, rubbing that butter through the flour. Okay, I'll keep going there. See you in a moment. Okay, so you can see what we're looking for is no lumps of butter left. If it starts to look too orange, it's normally because the butter is starting to melt, which you don't really want. I like to rein it in just to make sure I haven't missed any bits of butter. Once that's done, another well in the middle. I've just lightly beaten those 2 eggs. I've always got a little bit of flour on hand in case it's too wet, the finished mixture. And if it is too dry, normally it's not, but if it is, maybe a little bit of milk would be good. But these guys are just going to go in there. Alright, I'm just going to bring it in so that it incorporates nice and evenly. And we're just going to bring that to a dough. Once it's a dough, we don't want to work it too hard, otherwise we're going to develop that gluten too much and we won't end up with a short paste. It'll be quite tough, like a dough, a bread dough. So we're just going to bring that together. You can see how rich it is because of the butter and the egg. Okay, and looking at it, you think, oh, it's quite dry. I might add more milk, but if you do, you'll probably find yourself in a sticky situation. Make sure you've mixed it really well first, because you can see as I clump that together, it is coming together quite well. Okay, if it's easier at this stage, it's often a good idea just to tip it out onto your bench. You don't want it too wet. If it's too wet when it's cooking, the moisture will evaporate and create shrinkage. Nobody likes shrinkage, okay? But obviously if it's too dry, you're not going to be able to work it and it'll just crack. So you can see I'm just bringing it together, I'm not kneading it. Once it's all together in a dough, I'm going to split it in half because it's quite a large piece of dough. I'm going to wrap each one nice and tight with Glad wrap and put it in the fridge until required. I would rest it for at least half an hour. Okay, you can see that's coming together like a dough. This flour I'm using is a little bit darker, but it'll be okay. So it's a plain flour or a standard flour, not the high grade. So you can see it's come together quite well. I'm going to cut that in half, roll it into little balls, cover it with Glad wrap, into the fridge for half an hour. Kia ora whanau, back to our dough. We are making our sweet tarts. Now, when I left you, I said leave it for half an hour, at least in the fridge. Mine's been about 2 days, because I meant to get onto it yesterday, but you know, Easter is Easter. Try and get it out of the fridge about 5 minutes before you're going to need to use it. You can see I've set or rested two different ways. So this way is really good for round tarts, because when you cut it off you start with a circle. This guy here is more if I was going to roll it into one sheet and cut out the sizes that I need.